It's been a while since some people have been sounding an alarm about the resurgence of fascism across the world. But unluckily for them, their alarm has been falling on deaf ears because the right wingers in different parts of the world defending themselves against being categorized fascists by saying we're not fascists, we are just a bunch of guys who are interested to bring the interest and the benefit of our country first. That's it. We are not mass murderers. We don't want to start global war. So we are not fascist. We just what we want is just to promote or to bring the interest of our nation or our national interest before the interest of other nations, and everybody else should do that. And it seems this rebuttal by the right wingers across the world become successful because people don't understand, in my view, what the essence or the core of fascism. And in this video, my plan is to to do a little bit like an explanatory video explaining the core of fascism and what it means, and the significance of its resurgence in the contemporary world. So the first thing that people should know about fascism is not a modern idea. All right, fascism has been laying around for thousands of years. You can go as far back as Socrates, Plato, and Aristotle, and you would find these guys to be fascists. For example, the famous book written by Plato, The Republic. It's a typical manual, for that matter, you can say, for fascists. And not only Plato but also Aristotle himself, in his book Politics, you find him advocating for a fascistic idea and understanding of a country in politics. All right, so this thing is not new, but the idea was contemporized by adopted and adapted by different politicians across the world in different seasons and in different epochs. But it's the Italian fascist Benito Mussolini who adopted the idea and give us the name, the modern naming of fascism, because he dubbed his political movement the fascist movement, or he called it the fascist party. In an essay which you wrote called the doctrine of fascism, where he explains what are the main concepts of being the main concepts of fascism, and what he names his party fascist. You can find that the name the name fascist comes from a lictor. All right, a lictor is nothing other than as you can see from the picture, it's nothing other than it's an axe or a tomahawk which was carried by the personal guards of the ancient Roman magistrates. And these ancient Roman guards are magistrates have guards, and these guards have been carrying this weapon as a law enforcement tool, just like some people carry sword, and in the modern world, it's you can consider it like a rifle or something. So it comes from that word, and that lictor is called fash because I think etymologically fash means like a bundle of rods which are bundled together, and that are, as you can see from the picture, that they are serving as a handle for the tomahawk or the axe. So he chose that because he said the reason I choose as you also you can see from the picture, that's the emblem of the party. And the reason he chose that is because he wants it to symbolize, all right, he wants the lictor to symbolize unity, strength, and the rule of law. The unity and the strength is because as you can see, the handle is a bunch of bundles. All right, a bunch of rods that are bundled together. And so this bunch of rods coming together, they represent strength and unity. And since there is also a blade on the top of the handle, and this thing is a weapon being carried by the personal guards of the magistrates, it represents law enforcement. So he's saying this thing represent unity, strength, and rule of law. So our party is about unity, strength, and rule of law. Like the essence, the core of our party is about that. So etymologically, that's where the word comes. And if you are wondering, it's not about pogrom, it's not like about mass murder. Rather, at least the expressed reason is that it's about unity, strength, and the rule of law. So etymologically, that's that's the history of the word. And if you ask what's the essence of fascism, then what kind of idea can be defined as, what kind of political idea can be defined as fascism? If you ask that question, the answer you find is fascism can be different things for different people. For the religious fanatics, it's a different thing. For the political fanatics, it's a different thing. For the national fanatics, it's a different thing. But what's common about fascists is that they believe that there are some things which are more important than individual life, liberty, and their property. There are some values, some it can be country, it can be the will of God, it can be certain political ideology, which is more important than the life, liberty, and property of individuals. They, and by implication, for example, if it is for fulfilling the will of God, I'm completely warranted to infringe upon the individual's life, liberty, and property. And I want to give you a quote from the Doctrine of Fascism by Mussolini, and here it. So as you can see, for Mussolini, the most important thing is the state. And the individual will be recognized only as far as his interest coincides with the state's interest. That means, for Mussolini, what fascism is, he's, hell-bent to restoring the ancient Roman glory, to Italy. So as far as, that objective is achieved, individuals, the Italians, personal liberty, their property, and their freedom can be overridden at any time, and the individual should accept that. And we are completely anti-individual, and we're against liberalism. That's fascism for him. And for example, for for religious state, for theocrats, the will of God, right, it becomes the trumping power. And as long as it's about the will of God, the ruling the ruling elite have this what you call an overriding right to infringe upon the freedom, property, and life of its citizens. Your life is not important, the will of God is more important than the citizen's life. So this is the essence of fascism. If fascism is so, I think now the most important question would be why are different people sounding an alarm about the resurgence of fascism? This is because right after the end of Cold War, democracy has been spreading across the world like a wildfire, and there has been an increased economic development across the world, and the world has been growing more integrated to each other, and capital and labor has been moving freely. But this thing was posing a danger for so many dictatorships across the world. There is an increased amount of wealth and development. At the same time, freedom as a value have been spreading across the world, and it endangers so many despots. And as a result of that, they have been reacting. They become reactionary, and they were trying to sabotage, international, global trade, in the name of protecting national interest. All right, in the name of protecting national interest. The problem with that is that when countries are focused about their when they say that our country first, each one of them are saying our country first, it increases the chance of global conflict, because every country would be not value based but interest based, and they will be they will try to prioritize their country selfishly against the interest of the other. So it increases the chance of global anarchy. At the same time, it will increase the chance of domestic despotism in the name of country first. That's what all about it. Thank you for listening.